Chazon Ish says the following. The fact that the local craftsman can hinder a foreign craftsman from coming into town because of the danger of the damage to their livelihood is not because of a realistic consideration, meaning that he's actually going to hurt his Parnassa. That's not the real reason of why he's allowed to stop him from coming over. Meaning he has a shoe store, the other guy wants to open a shoe store right next door to him. Halakha says not allowed. Not allowed. Because it's not Torah, business not allowed. So the Chazon Ish says that this hindering, this stopping him from coming into town and opening the shoe store, competing business next to you, you're allowed to stop him. But it's not really because it's a realistic consideration that we really believe, according to the Torah, that he's going to stop your Parnassah. That's not the real reason. It's not even realistic to think that. But rather because of the obligation to make an effort, the ishtadlut, in this case, to earn a livelihood. What does he mean? For a person's sustenance is set from Rosh Hashana until Yom Kippur of the following year. And nothing will be lacking from this quota if an artisan comes to town from some other place, and nothing will be added on in such an event that it does not occur. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashana, page 16a, and also Masechet Beitzah, page 16b, both say the following, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashana decides how much money each and every single one of us is going to make that year. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a rabbi or you're collecting change in the streets. Doesn't make a difference. Everyone's parnassa, everyone's income is going to be decided on Rosh Hashana. Everyone's. No matter what the profession is. And someone could say, wait a minute, but hold on. I already know how much money I'm going to make. I work for Goldman Sachs. I work for Coca-Cola. I work for Google. They already signed a deal with me. I'm going to make $150,000 this year. I don't need Hashem to decide anything for me. No, Habibi. You haven't learned anything yet. Why? You think that just because you have a deal with Goldman Sachs or with some other company, that's how much you're going to make? You're fooling yourself. You're living a fantasy. How come? I've been working for them for 10 years. Every year they give me money. Who says you're going to continue working for them? Who says that's the only way you're going to make money? Who says that your expenses will remain the same? And that's why we do not learn Gemara from a single place, but rather when we learn a subject, we have to learn it from all places of where it's mentioned. And therefore we have to also go to the Gemara in Bava Batra, page 10a, that says the same exact thing, that the mezonot of a person, the income of a person, is going to be decided on Rosh Hashana, and this income does not include the money that he decides to spend on mitzvot, whether it be Shabbat, tzedakah, or anything else. That money is in addition to whatever income he decides, which means that the more Emunah a person has, the more tzedakah they give, the more money they spend on mitzvot, the more expensive and extraordinary their tefillin is, and their Shabbat clothes are, and their mezuzahs are, and all their etrog. They're not buying that get 2-for-1 discount etrog from last year. They're buying the best etrog they can possibly find, and so on and so forth, because they know this is not really considered part of my income. This is mitzvah money. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will add this to my income. But nonetheless, the Gemara here in Masechet Bava Batra says something extraordinary. It is not just the mezonot, the sustenance, that is decided on Rosh Hashana for each and every single one of us, but also the chesronot. What's the chesronot? The losses. The losses are decided on Rosh Hashana. Im zacha, if he merited, then the pasuk in the book of Isaiah will be fulfilled. Which pasuk? Pasuk chapter 58, verse 7, which will go in a second. Im lo zacha, the same pasuk will be fulfilled. 58:7, just a different part of the pasuk. If he merited, then he will get the first half of the pasuk. If he didn't merit, the second half of the pasuk. Second half of the verse. What is this pasuk? What is this pasuk? I want to know, money I'm going to get, good. But what losses? Why? You have some people, they make $1 million a year, but they're acting like they're homeless. Why? Listen, I'm not sure if I can afford to buy kosher food. Why not? I'm not sure if I could pay rent. Why not? I'm not sure if I could afford to pay my lease on my car. Why not? I'm not sure if I could make it this month. Why not? What's going on? I don't know. I had losses and doctors and lawyers and IRS and this and that. All of a sudden, everything is a tragedy. It's like person makes a ton of money and all the money is running out of the window faster than it's coming. I know the story firsthand. So here, the Gemara is telling us it's not just about the mezonot. It's not just about the income. It's about the chesronot. What's the chesronot? The verse in Isaiah, chapter 58, verse number 7, say, Im zacha alo paras l'ra'av lachmecha. If he merited, if he has merits, if he did good, if he lived by the Torah, then the first part of the verse will be fulfilled. Surely you should break your bread for the hungry. Meaning, if you have merits, you live the life with Torah, that money that is supposed to be losses that was decided for you on Rosh Hashana, Hashem is going to use those losses instead of it being losses for doctors, lawyers, IRS, taxes, problems, tzedakah money. Your tzedakah money will replace the losses that you're supposed to. You ask a person, listen, why don't you, donate to this and that? $50. Oh, but don't you make $300,000 a year? You're donating $50 like a 20-year-old kid? I mean, shouldn't there be like age-appropriate tzedakah, income-appropriate tzedakah? No, that's all I could afford. I have this problem and that problem and that problem. Oh, okay. You have this problem? Don't worry. Don't donate. I'll give you the money. Donate to you $50. You scan the poor guy. He has so many problems, you feel bad for him. Some people are like that, no matter how much money they make. Why? They have no merits. It's not they have no money. They have no merits. Why? Because they didn't live their life in accordance to what a Kadosh Baruch Hu was expecting of them, and therefore their losses came from problems. But if they lived life in accordance to what Hashem says, their losses will come in the form of tzedakah. All the money that they're donating for tzedakah, that replaces their losses. And nonetheless, also this does not mean that he's not going to, if there's no losses warranted for that such a person, Kadosh Baruch Hu will increase their income even further above, because they're using this tzedakah money. They're using their money for tzedakah, so that goes above their income. But im lo zacha, the same exact verse gets fulfilled. How could it be? Because the rest of the verse says v'aniim merudim tafi bayit, that and bring the moaning poor to your home, meaning that if a person does not have merit, his own people and his own household will be poor. Same exact verse, two different parts. If he has, the way the Chachamim studied the verses in the Torah, it's not like the fools and the arrogant and the ignorant. No, they studied word by word and connected it to every single thing in the Torah. Everything is connected. It's unbelievable how connected the Torah is to each other, where if you really deal with a Talmid Chacham, and I'll tell you a personal story just so you understand what a Talmid Chacham is like. People talk on the internet, whether it be myself or anybody else, they go, oh yeah, they know a lot of things. You have no idea what a Talmid Chacham is. A serious Talmid Chacham, it's something out of this world. It's literally like a eighth wonder of the world, where on the private shiurim that I have with Rabbi Ephraim, may Hashem bless him and give him a very, very long life full of Torah, mitzvot, gemilut chasadim, nachat u'bracha, and may the whole world understand and discover his Torah. At times, I'm telling you this only for the sake of you understanding what is the difference between a Talmid Chacham and the rest of mankind, practically. Simply, the rest of mankind. Because it's two different species. And unless you've experienced this yourself, you're simply not going to ever understand that such a thing is humanly possible. It's not everybody has the gift of gab, of speaking and so on. But to be a Talmid Chacham, it's something extraordinary. Why? Because when you have a Talmid Chacham that knows the Torah like you know the back of your hand, has a grasp of the Torah, you have a person that you can simply have a shiur about anything you want. But you think, oh yeah, but there's a lot of rabbis out there that have a lot of shiurim. They made shiurim about this and about that and about this and about that. No. Further. At any time you want. Okay, you have a lot of rabbis and a lot of people, even in the Christian world, Hashem Yishmor. You could ask them a question, they could talk for a half hour. Not a big deal. Different. What's different? In our private shiurim, unless we have a specific subject we have to learn, we sometimes have a day off. What's a day off? What's a day off? Day off is not no studying. A day off is, Yaron, here, pick whatever sources you want. As many books as you want. Open the book wherever you want. Tell me what it says and we'll do a shiur. What does that mean? I go to my library, pick books randomly. I don't know the books. Pick a book, open it wherever, this is what it says. Pick a book, open it whatever, this is what it says. Pick a book, open it whatever, this is what it says. I decide, you know what? I want to know what it says. So I decide, this is what it says, this is what it says. How many? As many as you want. 5, 10, 15, 20. Now when I first experienced it, I couldn't understand. So, let's do a shiur. Okay, I don't know, 10 different sources completely unrelated. One is talking about vows, the other one is talking about this, the other one is talking about the completely unrelated issues. No, Yaron. He calls me Rabbi Yaron, but Yaron. He says, no, I'm going to add some sources. Well, I just gave you 10 different sources unrelated. No, it's not enough. 20, 30 different sources. A shiur in 1 hour. Hour and a half hour, whatever ends up happening, all of those sources, you see how they're connected as if they are all in the same parasha, as if they're all saying the same exact thing. As if it's not manipulation of speech, but rather it's showing how the Torah is no different than the nervous system, or in fact, le'avdil, the nervous system is similar to the Torah. Everything is connected. If you can't connect those points, it just simply means you're not a scholar yet to that caliber. But a real Torah scholar, that's one of the Gedolim, as many sources as you want, they're all connected. Everything is connected. No different than your fingers are connected to your hand. No different than your eyelashes are on your eye. Everything is connected. And that's how we have our shiurim. That's our day off. And a person that has never seen this with their own eyes simply cannot even comprehend that such a thing is possible. This is also part of the reason why it bothers me so much when people either give ignorant people lots of compliments and say, oh yeah, he knows the whole Torah, and you know this guy barely knows Aleph Bet. Or worse yet, where people simply discount the knowledge of the Gdolei Ador and say things about the Chachamim as if they're average people. And the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat says, if the scholars of that time, the scholars that were able to literally resurrect the dead with their words, with their prayers, they themselves are saying, if the scholars before us are the equivalent of humans, then we are like donkeys. If they are like angels, then we are humans. If they're humans, then we are donkeys. And this is the greatest scholars in history calling themselves donkeys. If they consider themselves possibly donkeys, what are we? So when a person disregards or disrespects the magnitude of the Talmidei Chachamim of this generation and of the past, like some of these wicked people that we've mentioned in the past, it's something that is so ridiculous that only a person that knows scholars knows how far their words are from what the truth is. But the beauty here is that we have the Torah, and anyone that delves into it will discover the wisdom of the Chachamim and see how beautiful and sweet the Torah is, and see that the Torah literally discussed every subject, and it's all connected. Whether it's Emunah or your personal business, whether it's your marriage or it's the way that you pray, whether it's the way that the mo'el that you choose to do brit milah for your son, or the rabbi that you choose to ask a question about specific issues that are between you and your wife. Everything is connected. the way you make a vow, the way you make a prayer, the way you decide to pronounce certain words, and how many pages of Torah you read per day, the way that you eat, and the way that you seriously just talk to your son. Anything, it's all connected. And literally every one of the mitzvot in the Torah, they're all connected. Every one of the verses in the Torah, it's all connected. And the more you learn Torah, the more you see it. But sometimes people are so enamored by the big world of business, where they see the big world of the billionaires of the world and the Googles of the world and so on and so forth, they think that that's bigger than the Torah. And they only think that because they don't understand how big the Torah is and how big those Torah scholars are. And that size is not based on their net income, on their IRS statement, on their 1099. No, it's literally the mind of the scholars might as well belong to a different species, because that's what it's like. Now, of course, not all scholars are the same. Not all scholars have the same knowledge, but nonetheless, every Torah scholar that I've ever met, a true scholar that I've met, have been people that you might as well feel like you're talking to someone that lived at the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. No different. Their mind works different, their personality is different, their traits are different, and it's a beautiful thing to see, and that's why this is something that we invest so heavily in, not just money, but also time to read their Torah and to publicize their Torah, because if the average person would simply get a glimpse of what Torah we have available to us, simply they would want to change their life more than they would want to change their house or their car or the rest of their stuff. But nonetheless, again, it doesn't mean that a person needs to become homeless. It doesn't mean that a person needs to become a beggar. But everything has to be viewed in a certain perspective. Now, the Chazon Ish is saying that if you look at money in such a perspective, at your business in such a perspective, where that's the priority, and that means that you're going to think, you're going to have the mindset that anyone that's going to come and compete with you, he's an enemy that can steal your bread. And Chazon Ish is trying to tell you here is that this cannot be. No one can steal your bread. No one can steal your income unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu decrees it. Because your income is decided on Rosh Hashana, and also your losses are decided on Rosh Hashana. And how you're going to lose is decided as well. A lot of it is decided on a day-to-day basis even, according to the Mishnah, depending on your actions. That's why you'll see anyone that's has taken this challenge on that I've talked to people about in the past. Not everybody has this ability, but nonetheless, anyone that's in the business world who wants to seriously test themselves and is still falling for the crime of wasting seed, just look at it this way. Anytime you waste seed, immediately you lose money. Immediately. This is one of the sins that Hashem punishes on the spot. You waste seed, you're losing money the next day. For sure, you're losing money that week. For sure, you're not. The thing is, it's not going to be the same. No questions asked. Now you can say, wait, but I still made $25,000 the next day on a trade. If you didn't waste seed, you would have made a lot more. Or best yet, even if you made $25,000, doesn't mean you're going to take home $25,000 by the time everything is finished. And you see that people that are immoral, generally speaking, have a tragic life that at times looks like it's good, but then you see how everything falls apart.